colleagues that are here with me today, Carlisle Holder. Carlisle, I was going to say you're a bit of a celebrity, but I can see Keisha already did that. You're well known in these circles. We're very happy to have a seasoned executive on our team whose career spans, multiple years in criminal justice. He's been a warden, led the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice, and really understands this landscape in a way that I think no other does. And so, Carlisle, if you want to just give a quick introduction, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to just say thank you, Keisha, but I also want to, and you probably was going to do that, but I want to also give welcome remarks on behalf of our CEO and chairman, Jack Brown. He's one of the most busiest men in this entire world. So I'm so happy that we have a team here that is ready to work and become part of the solution and not part of the problem. So I'm excited to just sit back, listen, and see how we can, build on this relationship, because as you know, we appreciate all that ran. I remember having the first meeting with the group and to explain that we was hopefully coming to Ward 5, and obviously that has changed, and we are prepared to be transparent and open and engaging. So I'll sit back and let the team, continue to make their presentation. But thank you, Keisha.
Thank you, Carlisle. I also have on the call Alice Lowe, who has a long-standing history working with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and she started with CORE at our Brooklyn Reentry Center and is now the program manager for the Home Confinement Electronic Monitoring Program here in DC. There's also Gordon Jackson, who's our Vice President of Community Affairs, who also has a long history working in reentry and really is at the forefront of a lot of our community engagement strategies. So many of you may have seen him or participated with him on a call. And we have Michelle Powell, who is our Director of Quality Assurance. At the forefront of everything that we do, compliance is paramount. And so we always make sure that we are, focused on what the statement of work requirements are for our funders, and most importantly, operating with a commitment to excellence and high standards. And so CORE DC was really established to provide transitional housing and reentry services in Washington, D.C. And its sister agency, which some of you may have heard of, is CORE Services Group, which is located in New York. And we were founded 15 years ago to provide social services and transitional housing to a wide range of vulnerable populations. And we really think that we have a culturally sensitive approach and holistic approach really to the needs of the homeless and the formerly incarcerated. And our focus primarily has been in community reentry, homeless shelters for single adult males, families with children, adult families. And at the core of that is really taking an individualized approach to understanding the needs of our clients and then helping them transition to permanency. And so today, across New York and DC, we manage about 3,000 clients. We have about 3,000 clients across 40 sites. And we employ just under 1,200 staff, really diverse staff. And one of the things we're very proud of is that our leadership team and our staff truly reflect the communities we serve. And that really, I think, sets us apart because we approach it with a sense of responsibility, a sense of duty, a sense of commitment to really impacting the individual, because we know ultimately that impacts the larger community. And so we take that responsibility very seriously, and that's how we approach the work that we do. I don't think you come into this space without really having a commitment to the individuals, but we really do believe that that's an important part of our model. One of the things that we want to make sure that we do, so I'm always thinking about, how can we actually partner? And so we want to make sure that we can connect our clients to livable wage jobs, that they have opportunities for education, that they have life skills development access, that they can get vocational training, so again, they can have jobs, that they have access to safe and affordable housing. When we think about all the key drivers to successfully exit and to stay in the community as, productive citizens, those are some of the things that we think about. Currently in DC, we have 3 programs. We started, I believe, last April 2009, I believe. 2019, for operating a short-term family housing, the Horizon. And these were the mayor's initiatives to create smaller homeless shelters for families in the district. And so we currently have two of them. One is open, the other I think will open in the next 2 weeks. The Horizon, which is the Ward 7 shelter serving 35 families, and the Aya, which will open in Ward 6, serving 50 families. And that really is sort of the beginning of our partnership with the district to end homelessness and to provide high quality emergency shelter. So similarly, across all our programs, we're providing case management, we're providing a safe, clean environment for families to really make that transition. We have in place a good neighbor policy where we're promoting, best practices for how clients engage in the community and how they become active, contributing citizens, making sure that they have all the skills that they need, all the tools that they need to really succeed once they get back into the community. Most recently, we were awarded the Home Confinement Electronic Monitoring Program, which Mrs. Lowe oversees. And the goal of that program is to continue to provide reentry programming while maintaining accountability, protecting staff, offenders, and the public. And in that program, I believe it can go up to 250 clients, and everyone's on the ankle bracelets, which is an electronic monitoring program. We do the remote monitoring and make sure that, from an accountability standpoint, everyone is accounted for. So at the core of our work, our values are really around integrity, dignity, respect, compassion. I mean, compassion is so important for us because we recognize that in addition to the strengths that our clients bring, they all face, multiple barriers to independence. And, that can be anything from trauma to loss, histories of substance abuse, mental illness, limited educational achievement. And so we're constantly thinking about how do we, one, do an effective assessment to be able to identify those barriers and then put in place specific interventions that would, address those barriers and then ultimately get our clients into permanency. And so, the need for compassion is a value. Accountability is a big thing. I apologize. I'm in New York, which is probably the loudest place I could do a call from. But accountability, making sure that we hold ourselves accountable for what we are being tasked to do, right? And we try to have that personal accountability resonate with our staff, and then we take that another layer to our clients. And ultimately, we see that really drive, hopefully excellence in how everybody shows up and how people execute the goals that are set for them. And, those I think are probably the differentiating factors for how we operate and how our staff show up and provide the services that we ask of them. And, we feel right now we're in the 120-day startup for post-award, and so we're in the process now of designing. And so it's great that we can have this conversation now, and we can really get feedback from this group about what you think works and incorporate that in our programming. We've since 2011 operated the Brooklyn House Reentry Center, and we were just re-awarded that reentry center, so that will continue for another 10 years. And we just feel tremendously honored to have the opportunity to be able to really make an impact in this space. And we want to make sure that we're leveraging best practices so that we are reducing recidivism, that our clients are in fact prepared to succeed, and that they understand what's important while they're in the program, and they can take the skills that we expose them, the tools that they need once they transition to, again, continue. So some of the things that you'll see at the Reentry Center, we'll have the individualized reentry planning, we'll have groups, there'll be 3 meals a day, we'll make sure that our staff are competent and qualified. There'll be a focus on compliance. And those are some of the key things. We want to make sure that they have all the skills that they need to succeed after leaving prison, and that they can succeed in the community and sustain that lifestyle. Now, obviously, we're seeing some changes now with COVID, and so I think everyone's still trying to define what reentry will look like given those challenges. Even now with our home confinement programs, the BOP has implemented some flexibility around some of the programming, and we expect that to continue. But I think what that really gives us is an opportunity to innovate in ways that, it's not business as usual. And so it's really a key time to give us the input that we can then incorporate and approach it in a completely new way. I think fundamental to the values that I talked about earlier is local input. It's so important for us to understand what is critical to that community, and making sure that we partner with the residents, the organizations, the key stakeholders, and that we have a really full grasp of what that local landscape is. And if I could invite Mr. Jackson to talk a little bit about the work that he's been doing with the community engagement, you can get a sense of how we approach it and how it really is critical to the startup phase, and then also how we incorporate it as part of our ongoing operations. Mr. Jackson? Is he there?
Yep, good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. One, thank you again to Rand for your ongoing support. I think Ms. Phipps had really emphasized that. We can't say enough how much we appreciate getting to this this stage of the process, and we could not have done that without all of your support. I want to also add that where are we kind of at, right? Because I think the big question will be, will we hit some of the same barriers that we may have hit over in 5, right? And we want to make sure that this project happens, and what steps have we taken to mitigate some of those risks in terms of community engagement and making sure that we're getting a good voice from everybody before we kind of move to the next step. So what we've done is we've been in dialogue with some of the ANC chairs over in Ward 7. We've begun to engage them in that process. Obviously, there's some concerns. There have been some questions. We've set up some different platforms to address some of those concerns to try to make sure that we reduce some of the anxiety. In addition to that, obviously, we have ongoing discussions with MORCA, with the Ready Center, to see what services are currently being offered to make sure that we can continue to make sure that we meet the needs of the men who are in the EMP program. And we've also engaged in a conversation with one of the block associations who are very closely located to the anticipated site to address some of their concerns. And we've also partnered with some folks in the faith-based community in 7 as well to find out what support we will get to make sure that we can be prepared for any challenges that come up. That's kind of a quick brief of kind of where we're at in terms of our community engagement strategy. I'm sure there'll be more questions that will come up, and I'll be happy to answer them as they arise.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. I think that's a great segue to Mrs. Lowe, who's on the ground working with the population and partnering with some of the agencies. A key part of our strategy is ensuring that we establish, and not just partnerships in name, but actual, we communicate, we talk about, how the partnership's going. In fact, once we have the facility, one of the things that we've committed to is making sure that we have space where CBOs have the ability to come on site to provide any service that's available for clients on site, whether it's, doing an application or, participating in a group or having a mentor. And now there's some steps that we have to follow that are guided by BOP protocol, but we'll outline that, and to the extent possible, we'll have that available. And naturally, I think now with COVID, there may be some changes to that model, but essentially, we see community partnerships as a key component of our programming because it really just enhances, the services, and we want to be able to facilitate access because some things we do really well, but there's others that you guys have been doing for years and do it even better. And so why reinvent the wheel when we can connect the recipients to the providers? And so that's a key component of our model. So I'll invite Mrs. Lowe, Alice Lowe, to talk a little bit about some of the actual partnership engagements that we've experienced in the short time that we've been there with the electronic monitoring program.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Phipps, and good afternoon again. Some of the partnerships we've already established has been working with MORCA, of course, working with RAND, Catholic Charities. One of the things we did with Catholic Charities, they recently had a food drive and a food giveaway. So we assisted them with that, and right now we're in the process of doing another food drive. With MORCA recently gave away some Father's Day gift cards. Again, we were able to assist them with that. One of the other groups that we've been working with has been one of the transitional groups with Mm, helping guys deal with whether or not there are mental health problems or either drug abuse related problems. And again, we've been working with the Ready Center as well as many of the groups that are here on this particular line today. I could name them all, but I know you all know who you are, such as Voices for a Second Chance.
Well,
So,
thank you, Mrs. Lowe. They're
I could go on
definitely,
and on, but I know they know who they are.
yes, we definitely know that there are a lot of resources, and our goal is to identify and partner in meaningful ways that, you know, ensure our clients get access to these services. So thank you, Mrs. Lowe. You know, at the end of the day, I want to give you an opportunity to ask questions, and we'll answer the questions to the best of our ability. And if there's anything we don't know, we'll, you know, follow up with the RAN leadership. But our goal is to really help our clients overcome barriers. And if we can connect them to resources that will help them do just that, that's an important part of the model. We'll constantly strive to exceed compliance targets. That's just who we are. But you know, we're an organization with human beings as employees, and so we strive for excellence, and you know, if we fall short, then we just go again. So we're really committed to continuous improvement. You know, Ms. Powell, who's going to be quiet on the call, but she's at the heart of, you know, quality assurance and doing our own internal audits and making sure that we hold ourselves accountable. We want to make sure that we maintain safe and secure facilities, and you know, and clean is a big component of our model as well, and establish effective partnerships. And we constantly, as an organization, you know, we've experienced tremendous growth over the last couple of years. We're constantly looking at how we can strengthen our own organizational capacity, and some of the things we've seen, you know, as a result of COVID, I'm sure even in your own organizations are, for example, this Zoom call, right? Leveraging technology, making sure that we have the right people who work for us, making sure that we don't have vacancies. And so we're constantly, as a leadership team, looking to strengthen the organization. That's a very key component of who we are. And we just have an operating mindset that really focuses on compliance, performance outcomes, high quality service delivery, making sure that we're creating real value for our funders and our clients, that we hire talented employees and promote staff development. There's an opportunity here certainly for employment in the district. You know, we'll be looking to do career fairs and really doing the hiring over the next 100 days. And then, you know, we just have overall a commitment to risk management. I know generally sometimes when we have conversations with the community, there's always a question around public safety. And so we operate with that mindset. We understand the challenges with the population. And so we try to train our staff to the best of our ability to be prepared to be able to handle situations and to really operate as reentry professionals. And you know, we're excited again for this opportunity, and we are even more pleased to really have a group of individuals like yourselves who we know are truly committed to the outcomes for our clients and will work with us to ensure that they have the very best quality, you know, best services available. So thank you again for the opportunity. And I think, I'm not sure, Keisha, how you want to facilitate questions,
Sure.
but we are available to answer.
Yes, we have allotted a small a period of time for questions. So to be most efficient, if folks could write any questions they have in the chat. I'll start with Tim. I know she has one. Before I jump to that, I want to thank you and your entire team, Keisha and your team, for being here today, coming prepared. And the thing that really impacted me is hearing you call the people that you're going to serve clients. I think that's really important, and I hope that stays. I hope that you do not call them offenders, inmates, anything that's not people first language that doesn't recognize their humanity, a personal mission of mine. So hopefully you guys will stay with that. All right, so let's go to the first question from Tammy, who asks about technology. How is CORE helping people connect to technology and access resources virtually, making sure they have smartphones with data plans and making sure they know how to use Zoom, etc.?
Very good question. You know, and as we as an organization, that's a challenge or a conversation that we're having as an organization, and then we're trying to figure out how we want make it accessible for our staff. So at the start of the pandemic, one of the things we had to do was to really think creatively about how we could continue to provide the services that we do and still be as effective given the limitations. And so we did make some changes around, you know, most of our case management sessions are, in fact, I think maybe all of our case management sessions are now being done remotely. And so it's by phone to, you know, promote social distancing, but still have access. And so with the BOP program, and so I'll talk about 2 programs. There's one that we have open right now, and another that we're looking for the future. So for the future, we'll have to really approach it with that mindset. For the one we have now, we opened very quickly. And so the BOP did make some changes. Before, clients could not have smartphones. They are permitting smartphones. And so, you know, what's great is that we have an agency that understands the challenges themselves, and they're making those adjustments. So they are allowing smartphones. And we've been thinking about, so for example, we did, I think with Catholic Charities, we had the food distribution. One of the things that we did was we now have an application where we can send mass text to everybody in our program. And so we were able to send out the flyer to say, reach out to your case manager to you know, to schedule an appointment if you wanted to be a part of it. Something as simple as Happy Father's Day. We sent a mass text to everybody saying Happy Father's Day. And, you know, just a little thing, just creating the sense of still being able to provide the services, but also create the dignity side and, you know, feeling human and feeling normal. And so we are thinking about technology. We've also talked about doing groups by Zoom and house meetings by Zoom. A lot of this is forward thinking, but we are trying to think about how we can incorporate technology. But to date, the things that we've done is everybody, the BOP has allowed everyone to have a smartphone, so we are doing that. We are doing case management sessions remotely, and I believe it's a mixture of WhatsApp, FaceTime, Zoom. You know, we are using the electronic monitoring, so that's technology sort of embedded already. And we're going to be looking to roll out even more uses of the technology, looking at groups just like this, because we could actually do a house meeting this way. We could do, you know, mentoring sessions, group sessions like this. We haven't done this yet, but this is something that we've talked about. Mrs. Lowe, do you want to add anything on the technology side?
No, that was just fine, Ms. Phillips.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to try to get as many questions in, Keisha, so we're going to get in and get out. Next, I'm going to go to Mr. Freeman, who said, what is CORE doing to keep staff and residents safe during the pandemic? PPE, et cetera.
Okay, so very early on, we distributed PPE to all of our facilities. We wanted to ensure that. So it was evolving. I want to make sure I capture everything. So I think when we first started, the guidance, and this was sort of nationwide, was, you know, for masks, really it's you only use it if you were sick. And so masks were available really for anybody who appeared to be sick. And so we would make that available. And then, you know, we had additional guidance, and since then we've provided PPE across all of our sites. We've increased sanitation across all of our sites. Very early on, our president CEO would have weekly calls with the leadership across all of our sites. One, just to check in with everybody to make sure that the morale was high, that everybody had what they needed. That then evolved into meetings with the staff. Since then, we've created internally a COVID committee on COVID protocols, and we send weekly communication to all of our staff around anything from, you know, wearing a mask. We have a universal masking policy in our company, so it is now considered a part of the uniform. You're not permitted to be on site without the uniform. At some of our programs here in New York, we're actually partnered with our funders to provide on-site testing, and that's been really great. We've also, in cases where anyone was found to be positive, we've been able to immediately quarantine, clients, and we feel pretty good. We've been checking in with everyone just to make sure that they feel, we're doing the right thing. But we at one point we searched everywhere to make sure that we had the PPE, to make sure that we had all the cleaning supplies, that we provided them to every site, and we stayed in contact to ensure that the protocols were being followed.
Ms. Phipps, when our EMSs are making rounds at the clients' homes, we have also provided gloves and masks to the clients.
Yes, thank you for that. And so, yeah, so on the client side, we are providing as well to the clients. In fact, we have them sign for it. If they need it, if they lost it, they can get it anytime. Clients, staff, if they're in the field, they're required to also have PPE on. And I think even when we started the home confinement program, we prepared 150 little kits that had gloves, masks, hand sanitizer, and made that available to everyone so that we knew, going back home, they could be protected. We're also just focused on education. There are flyers posted everywhere on, what to do. We also take temperature checks of individuals entering the building so that, we can, again, just check and make sure everyone's safe and try to keep everyone safe. And that's really been our goal. And it's just been amazing. I've been really impressed with, the staff. Very early on, there was so much uncertainty, and they really showed up every day and did what needed to be done, and were quite fearless. I think now we actually have these shirts that we're wearing that says "I am essential." People wear that with pride because they really come to work, understanding the importance of their work and the fact that our clients need them to show up and need them to really lead the way in a time of uncertainty.
Thank you. 2 more questions. Tara wants to know, can service providers come on site to meet with residents? Ms. Powell said yes, they can, but Ms. Lowe, that you could elaborate for us?
The clients, service providers will be able to come on site. So there are some restrictions. I think if somebody is coming on a regular basis, the BOP does require that individual be considered a volunteer, which would require clearance. And so we would provide the paperwork for that person to be cleared officially by the BOP, in which case you would have access as a staff person. We would also have protocols in place. You may be escorted by the life skills coordinator, you may be designated to a particular area. So no one really has the ability to come in and kind of roam free, but there would be a space that would be designated, and we would have appointments and the clients can come down.
I'm later than expected for you.
Was that you, Mrs. Lowe?
Yeah.
Okay, so the volunteer would be able to do that. Others who are just coming on to do presentations, you could be invited on and you would be accompanied by a staff person, and we would facilitate that. So for example, like in our Brooklyn facility, we have a partner from Fidelis Insurance, and he signs clients up for insurance. And he has a standing, he's on site, I think, like every Wednesday morning, and he's there, collecting information. Someone like that, we would get clearance for.
Okay, thank you. And then our last question is, what is the status of the former Hope Village residents that were sent to the halfway house in Baltimore? Will they be transferred back to DC once court opens? Hey, Caroline, can you mute your, thank you. So will they be transferred back to DC once court opens, or will they be given emergency housing services in the meantime?
So that question would really be something for the BOP, but all I can say is when we do open, based on our capacity, the BOP can make referrals for anyone who is technically still in the program. I suspect it's possible that because since some of the clients that we originally acquired have been discharged, because they may have had a discharge date between April and now, and so it's possible that some of them have already exited the program. If there's some that are still in the program, that would be up to the BOP to refer them to us, and then at that point we could then accept them. But it's hard for us to say because our referrals are really driven by who the BOP sends to us.
This is Gordon. I wanted to also add too that we've been on weekly calls just to find out what some of the needs are of the folks who've been transferred over to DC as well. We just made a mask donation for some of the folks who are in DC who've been transferred, because we were told that they might need some additional masks and PPE. So anything that we can do to be supportive of the folks who've been transferred to Baltimore, we're still trying to do that as well. Obviously, we don't service that population because they're with another provider, but we realize that the needs still exist, and ultimately these folks will come back into the district. So I wanted to share that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Actually, we have one last question, and it's an important one, and then we're going to move to the next item on our agenda, but it comes from Tara. What kind of job placement services are you able to provide, especially in light of COVID? Do you have partnerships with DC businesses that will hire core DC residents?
I'm so sorry. I heard a little bit of that question. I think it was what type of partnership. So I will say that during COVID, one of those restrictions that we did put in place for our clients, ordinarily they would be required to get employment, I believe, within 30 days. But because there was limited movement, but as the phases, and we go through different phases, there's more movement. But I think moving forward, those are the types of partnerships that we're going to be identifying and trying to put in place. And so that's a very tangible way that this group can assist us. If there are companies that you are in contact with, that or even that you own yourselves, that are friendly to our clients, definitely reach out to us, and we can make that available to our clients. So we have a mixture. There's some that will come in with employment, and it's our responsibility to verify that employment, to ensure that it's a suitable place for them to work, that it's a legitimate job, that they're being paid above board, minimum wage, things like that. So there's going to be someone on staff who will be responsible for doing those verifications. But similarly, their responsibility is when they initially get the job, they do the verifications on an ongoing basis, monthly. They have to check in with the employer to ensure that, one, that the client is still showing up, that they're performing, that they are retaining that job. So there's, the acquisition of the job and then the retention of the job. And what we found is in those conversations with employers, when an employer sees the real value of somebody on their team, they can then say, oh, Joe Brown is really a great contributor, and we really value how he shows up. He has, he's able to communicate. And again, we have life skills programming that we're doing on site. So he knows how to communicate. He's respecting authority. He's on time. And those are the things, that the soft skills that we're reinforcing in the Reentry Center. And it's our hope that, by one client modeling those behaviors and engaging in a productive way with an employer, then employers will then say, do you have any other candidates? And by that, and in fact, we even had clients get jobs for other clients. And so we expect to see that as well. So, we can sort of get it from establishing and building those relationships. But then we will also go out and, kind of look at the landscape and say, what's available. What we just found out, actually, I think maybe a month ago, there's going to be some new development coming in the area that we are. So there's already retail there, and there's some other developments that are coming, which I think will be prime for employment opportunities for our clients. So that will also be a part of our responsibility. But as a partner, if there are employers that you know of, any opportunities, share that with us, and we'll get that in front of our clients.
I wanted to add quickly too that we'll probably look at a sector-based approach. I think Ms. Phipps had touched on this briefly. We anticipate there to be an uptick in anything related to sanitation and COVID cleaning and anything like that we can train these guys on. In the New York operations, we introduced OSHA. So if there's some type of certifications or trainings that we can bring in for any fast-growing job sector, we will be inclined to do that. So we know we like to be nimble. We move as the jobs come in. As sectors grow, we'll train up, and we'll try to get these guys trained so that they can go out to livable wage jobs, beyond their time at the halfway house.
Yeah, and I would also like to add, as we want to embrace technology, and I know there's lots of opportunity in the virtual freelance marketplace that provides livable wage jobs for these individuals. So that's something that I know I've been discussing with our chairman and CEO as to how these guys can take these courses. And particularly, we have seen how the whole virtual space worked out. So I don't think the workplace is going to be anywhere like it used to be. So we're going to look at ways we can, find there's 55 million, Americans now in that marketplace, and it doesn't ask you about your background, where you've been. They just want to know what kind of skill sets you have. In terms of one of those virtual, like at the Zoom meeting that we have today, they want people to convert this into minutes, right? So those are some of the jobs that we can, and it doesn't require a whole lot of sophistication or skill set. So we're going to be looking at those emerging technologies to, to bridge it that would offer more opportunities for these returning citizens.
And do folks have to give a portion of their pay to CORE as usually required?
No, they're not. They're not doing that now. Not during the COVID era.
Okay, thank you. I know that many of our members are going to be interested in providing feedback with respect to the build out for the new facility. And we would like to organize a time with you guys, a listening session or a mechanism for us to offer our ideas for what would be helpful to the client to serve.
Excellent.
Is that something we can schedule at some point in the future?
Yeah, I'll share that with Mr. Brown, who is really the contractor in charge, and we'll follow up with you on that one.
All right, awesome. Well,
Keisha, can I just add one thing?
Sure.
I just wanted to say that right now we have 27 of our clients that are employed, and they're all employed in essential businesses.
Oh, great.
Excellent.
I'm looking at Demetria's question. Demetria, do you want to expound? You said, is who going to be felony friendly?
When she was talking about the jobs at the time around the area, I was asking her, are they going to be felony friendly? Because I know a lot of the guys we have put jobs with, they go to Amazon and a few other places. They said they're felony friendly, but when they get there, some things are not the same, or either the position that they try to apply for.
I mean, can I'll say this, right? This is Jackson. When we engage the ANC folks and we're engaging community partners and we're having conversations about what it looks like to expand, the presence of the returning citizens who are coming back in, that's something that we always include on that conversation when they're talking about what jobs are coming in and who's developing and what's being built. We as a company, we embrace that concept where we can. We know that if returning citizens don't work and don't make employment, then they don't have an opportunity to do well. So that's something that we always keep on the forefront. Not a decision that we can make depending on what vendors are open and what contractors, but that's something that we always ask and that we always keep at the forefront of our conversation.
And they have to be, because we're required to disclose that our clients are part of the program, and so that conversation happens very early on. And I will tell you that they may not have it written on their website, but there are several employers that do the right thing. And so we'll be sure to partner with them.
I will say that one of our guys works at UPS, and we have 2 working at Amazon.
Thank you.
And that's what I'm asking, because I do know that one young man did get the job at Amazon, but I had another guy that had an issue, and I'm not sure of the position that he applied for. But I guess you got to find out what position they're applying for that's only doing for people that don't have a background or the ones that are, because one young man, as well as FedEx, he went there, and God bless him, he just came home. He went there with his jail ID basically, and when they found out, when he went to inside of a building, they was like, you got to go home. And that kind of hurt me, because he was happy about having a job and everything. So I'm just trying to figure out, because it's not in DC, you can't avoid not saying that you have not been locked up. And some of these places that they want to go are not in DC as well. And then they're having issues with housing and everything along with that, because of them being locked up as well.
Thank you, Ms. Atkinson. And Mr. Jackson, Ms. Atkinson can follow up with you if she has any other questions about employment efforts, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Core
Thank you for
DC.
having us.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sure this will be an ongoing conversation going forward. You're welcome to remain on the call for the remaining open portion of our meeting. Paula?
Thanks, Keisha, and thanks again to the core team. We really do look forward to working with you all.